All right, welcome to Bet the Edge. I'm Jay Croucher here with Drew Dinsick. We're recording during the second quarter of Sunday Night Football. Christian McCaffrey has just limped off. James Cook just took it 65 yards to the house. It is difficult to talk about that game, but we will talk about all of the other Sunday games, at least the ones that stand out most to us. We'll talk Week 14 openers and then Browns Broncos. But Drew, let's start off with Eagles-Ravens. Coming out of that game, I think there's going to be a lot of conventional wisdom that the two best teams in football reside in the NFC. It's the Lions and the Eagles. Did you come out of that game thinking that the Eagles are one of the two or three best teams, or was it just that Justin Tucker just missed everything?
Well, I take exception to the Lions being in that conversation a bit.
You'd be the minority there.
I am in the minority. Look, man, I am in the minority with a little bit of a low market rating, relative to market on the Lions. But the Eagles are right there, no question. I don't think there was any mixed signal here. The Eagles have now faced three very difficult and very different quarterback tests in the last 3 weeks. And I think they have answered they have come up with the answers now impressively 3 times. And I was like a little kind of conscientious about really going all in Eagles today because I thought this is a different kind of offense. This could be a tough test, and they were incredible. The tackling, the scheming, everybody in the right place, the communication, all of it is spelling, like it's all singing. Like this is kind of Vic Fangio, came into this season and we were all kind of scratching our heads like, yeah, I mean, maybe it'll work. Like, does he have the personnel? Does he have the passion? Has the league moved past him? Right? Like these were all questions that existed in the offseason. And what you're seeing now with the way this group is playing is unequivocally, they are for real. And the fact that this defense is able to do what they're doing in particular in the absence of their key pass rushers is especially impressive. So I think treating the Eagles as for real is kind of your supplemental baseline, and I think your requisite baseline, and I think that if you believe that this is a team that can go on the road and get hard fought wins like they did today, down 2 scores on the road and fighting back to get a very impressive win, I think you just have to respect that they're for real. This is not the team that was floundering like a fish out of water at the end of last season, desperate to fumble their season away. Like this is a very focused, well-led and well coached unit. And I kind of don't want to give Nick Sirianni any of the credit. It feels like the leaders in the locker room, the talent on this roster, and what Vic Fangio is doing for the defense right now is really kind of the story.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the defense is a lot more impressive than the offense. I mean, Jalen Hurts completed 11 passes. Saquon had the epic fourth quarter. I'm sure we'll talk about his MVP candidacy during the week, but ultimately the defense was just flying around. Lamar under siege. My man Quinyon Mitchell was immense as well. So I think, the defense is legitimate. I think the offense, I mean, to be fair, like they've done this without Devontae Smith today, who is vital to the passing game, clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, if the conventional wisdom is now from a lot of people going to be that the Lions and the Eagles are the two best teams in football, my controversial take would be that by the time we get to the playoffs, I think the 3 best teams in football will all be in the AFC, being the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. I think that quarterback is an important position in the NFL, and by the time we get there, I will take Allen, Mahomes, and Lamar over Jalen Hurts and Jared Goff. Obviously, there are other components, but I think that the rest, their supporting casts are good enough that those 3 guys are going to be able to elevate, though obviously they're going to may have to knock each other off on the way, and
Mm.
may even, I mean, Lamar being a wild card now potentially just shakes everything up. Did you change
Doesn't
your
it?
opinion about Pittsburgh a lot coming out of them scoring 44 points against Cincinnati, or is the Bengals defense just so outlier dreadful that I mean, you have to read something into it no matter what, but you have to, I guess, regress the Steelers' offensive performance because of their opponent?
Yeah, and I think the big takeaway was really just that Russell Wilson is capable of managing an offense that can be clearly top 10. And I thought a lot of what he was doing in terms of explosive plays the last handful of weeks was unsustainable, and that with 2 weeks to prepare, a defense coordinated by Lou Anarumo, who I had previously had a lot of respect for, was going to be prepared and really take advantage of that. You get a pick six early. It feels like, ooh, here we go. Like, this is the exposed Russell Wilson game. No, he has 400 yards passing. Really had no issue whatsoever scoring when he needed to, particularly in the second half of that game to really kind of extend the lead. And I think you just have to kind of nod your head like, hey, like, these are unconventional pieces that they're getting it done with in the passing game, particularly the wide receiving core and the tight end group. Like, like in a vacuum, this is not a very talented unit, but everybody is performing their role perfectly. And Art Smith, who I had kind of given up on after his failure in Atlanta, certainly does still seem to at least have a vision that matters. And yeah, I think we learned two important things about both the Steelers and the Eagles today, that our two Pennsylvania friends teams, which is that they can go on the road and get hard fought wins. That was kind of the huge takeaway here. Like, I would have written off the Steelers if they were a road team as a wild card round. Now, even if the Ravens run them down and pass them to be the AFC North Championship champions and have a home game, I still think like you're gonna have to like be cognizant of the fact that the Steelers team could win on the road, depending on their opponent. And right now, at least, the AFC South champion looks very beatable, whoever gets the 5 seed. So, it was, I think, hugely impressive to see road wins from both the Eagles and the Steelers. And I think that is a signal that you must take forward.
Yeah, I think ultimately there will be a reckoning coming for the Steelers because they have this 3-game stretch after they play home to the Browns in that rematch. They go at Philadelphia, at Baltimore, home Kansas City. And, the modal outcome there will be 1-2. And it just kind of feels like they are guaranteed to go 1-2 in that stretch. Somehow they'll squeak out one of the wins there. But, I mean, there's a chance they go 0-3 there, in which case they would cough up the division. But they could go 2-1 as well. So we'll see. But certainly they flashed an upside that I didn't necessarily think that they had. I didn't think they were going to score 44 points in Cincinnati, and they did. Before we move off the Sunday slate, one thing that really stood out to me watching the games today, Aaron Rodgers is just completely washed. Like, he's completely done. He was horrific against the Seahawks. It was baffling to watch because I thought that he had shown flashes earlier in the season. Like, he was awesome in the Patriots game early in the year, even against the Bills in that primetime loss. Thought he played at a high level. But against Seattle, like, he's just missing wide open touchdowns, wide open key conversions. The pick six to Leonard Williams was a mess. He just looked horrific. And the Jets, I mean, they really should have, they up 21-7, and then they had a chance to, and then Rodgers misses a wide open touchdown. They should have been at 20, they should have been up 28-7, and the game is completely done. I mean, do you have to rate the Jets now as a team that is like 2.5 points worse than your average team, that type of level now?
I think yes. And kind of in that vein, if you want to get a little Aaron Rodgers venting off your chest, I'd love to get a little Kirk Cousins venting off of my chest. Yeah, these old quarterbacks who, like, what they were known for was being on-field generals and, call it out the right audibles and really kind of reading the defense. No, that's not, none of that is manifesting, which is really surprising to me, because when you get older as a quarterback, you're supposed to have some more awareness, some more ability to kind of win pre-snap with your quarterback smarts, and these guys aren't doing it. And that's an indictment on them, and or just a signal that the defenses have gotten so much smarter, so much better at disguise that you can't get away with that type of chess move in the NFL anymore. And you just have to be better physically. You have to be able to deliver a pinpoint pass. You can't get away with just finding the holes in the defense. And so many of both Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins today, side by side, you would have just been like, wow, why are these people in the NFL? What are they doing out there? Like the picks that Cousins threw were so heinous that it was like a ball before the ball came out of his hand on the pick six to still. It was literally like, no, don't. And he did. And it went right into the hands of the cornerback. And there was no one available to tackle him. And, that was the deciding play of the game. The Chargers weren't terrible today. They did not play well enough to win. The Falcons very much gifted them that game. And the Seahawks is the same story. Like, this is a massive win for the Seahawks in their quest to get a playoff spot and to win the NFC West. And the Jets gave them that game. Like, that was wild. And penalties mattered, surely, but the quarterback play was the key and obvious takeaway, which makes me wonder, Jay, this time last year, December 1st, you know where Joe Flacco was? He was on his couch. He had yet to start a game. Is there a comeback player of the year coming from the clouds here with Dobbins now on the IR and our two quarterbacks who were presumably going to be the runaways looking miserable, and Joe Burrow losing? Like, is Joe Burrow really going to win this award? I'm really like wondering if there is a come from the clouds comeback player of the year this year. What do you think?
Well, I actually wanted to talk about this guy anyway. I thought the coolest moment of the early slate was what Anthony Richardson did at the end of the game against the Patriots. And I understand that his stats, again, were not particularly good, where I think he goes 12 for 24. Richardson played well. And I think that showed up ultimately in his EPA numbers where, he was 0.19 EPA per play. That's perfectly fine. He had an average depth of target of over 16 yards. But he got, again, like, this is the second week in a row. It's kind of been happening all season where he's just getting completely screwed by his receivers. He threw the game winning. He threw the game tying touchdown pass 4 times on the final drive. Basically, it's still for a 4th time. Then he finally Alec Pierce caught it on 4th and 3. But look, I don't know. I got to think about that market a little bit more. But like Cousins, he's getting to the point where he just almost can't win. He's not quite there yet because he could still finish hot and get lucky, and he's got an easy schedule. But I mean, there's talk of him getting benched for Michael Penix. Like, can he really win comeback player of the year? He's been horrendous of late.
Why wouldn't you if you're the Falcons right now?
Yeah, it's. I mean, today was a mess. The lobbed interception, which was the 3rd one in the end zone. Like, I don't know what he scored on that one. But yeah, he's been dreadful of late. Burrow's 4-8. The team is a disaster. He's played at the super high level, but he has no narrative whatsoever in what is a narrative award. Dobbins is on IR. He's probably done. Nick Chubb is averaging 3.0 yards per carry. He's been the worst running back in football, so I don't think he can win barring an absolute surge now.
He could surge, though.
Yeah, he could. He still could. I still think the guy most likely to win, honestly, is Kyler Murray, just because if he beats the Seahawks at home, all of a sudden he's back in the lead for the division. And I thought he was fine against the Vikings. His stats are a bit muddied because of the interception at the end, but I still think if he finishes hot, that he will have just the best combination of all the elements of the case that we needed. But I mean, it's not been a great past 2 weeks for his candidacy. But do you think if Anthony Richardson, who kind of has 3 different comeback stories because he broke his collarbone last year, he got hurt again this year, and he got benched this year. If he finished, like, their schedule is like home, they play at the Broncos, and then it's like home Tennessee, and then I think it's the Giants and the Jags. So if he surges home, is there a narrative there for him to be the kind of, the Flacco type of surger? Ironically, the man he was benched for.
Honestly, Jay, if I could tell you how these narratives manifest and where they come from and why, we wouldn't be on a podcast. We would just be having a group call, and just okay. So what narrative are we gonna manifest today, man? Because like last year, the most impressive thing that happened comeback wise was Brock Purdy getting his elbow surgery after his season-ending injury and having a season that was MVP level. And I really hope he has transferred his karma to Josh Allen and that Josh Allen has his come down moment at some point in this next month. But yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy performing at that level after elbow surgery on his throwing arm was freaking insane. And I mean, if Kyler Murray has a case, why not DeMar Hamlin, right? Why not someone else who came back last year, but really came back this year, right? Like I find this to be quite tedious and quite annoying. And if we can create a narrative for someone, let's do it, because right now the choices are wildly uninspiring.
Yeah, well, Hamlin just takes like one viral content piece and everyone to just kind of agree that he should have won last year. Let's just give it to him this year because he is actually, the starting safety on what's going to be the probable 2 seed in the AFC, and he is being a contributor. But I don't know. It's I just don't think people care. People didn't care last year. They care even less this year. So
do you think that they just look at the odds board and they're like, who are these guys? I like that one.
Yeah, I just don't think that like Joe Burrow and Kirk Cousins, I think Burrow is done, and I think that Cousins is trending towards being done. So yeah, it is a bit of a mess, but yeah, Hamlin, it's going to take a bit.
I honestly, I cannot say with enough clarity how horrifically poor Kirk Cousins played today. It was abominable, and the Falcons still almost won. Like absolutely ridiculous. And if they pull a switcheroo and start Penix next week, you know who they're not getting criticism from? Me. This team's not winning a playoff game. Like, what is your, the idea of starting Cousins through his final chapter here is you're competing for a Super Bowl. You're not winning multiple playoff games with performances like that. No chance.
Good.
No, you're not covering as a 10-point dog in the playoffs performing like that. Sorry. So you might as well see what you have in the future. That's why you made the choice to begin with, presumably. So we'll see.
Indeed. All right, let's move on to the Week 14 openers. The one that leapt off the board to me, and this doesn't bode great for their Super Bowl chances, even though I said that I think they'll be one of the 3 best teams when it comes to money time. The Chiefs are only 3.5-point favorites at home against the Chargers, and you touched on it briefly before. Chargers were terrible against the Falcons, and maybe because it was short week against the rest of the team that had been revved up after their disgrace against the Broncos, but Bo Nix played 50 times better than Justin Herbert did against that Falcons defense, and so that was a little bit surprising to me that it was only Chiefs minus 3.5. I would have thought that the Chiefs are rated as a 5 to 5.5 points above average type of team, and the Chargers are more like a 2 points above average type of team. And I would have thought the line would be more like 4.5, 5. So that was the one that stood out most to me. I just find it's kind of funny that the Dolphins are 6.5-point favorites home to the Jets. This Jets team, which was the favorite in Arizona a couple of weeks ago, the tide has turned very much against the Jets in the market.
Yep. I'm with you on that one. Chiefs for me, my fair is 4.6. I didn't see anything from the Chargers today to warrant an upgrade. So yeah, that's Chiefs or pass. The one that stands out to me is actually Thursday Night Football. 3.5 for this Lions team. This defense is starting to show cracks. Like we've been waiting for it. Anzalone, Hutchinson, like these are guys that matter to this defense being as good as they need to be able to handle an offense that has as many weapons as the Packers do. I know that the Packers were a pretty fraudulent winner on Thanksgiving night, but it still is a very, very close contest here. I backed the Packers against the Lions when it was in Lambeau, and we were looking at a somewhat similar line that didn't make sense to me. And since then, I have upgraded the Lions, and I still can't get to this number. So, yeah, this looks like Packers to me. And I think in general, the Lions are. This next couple weeks is going to be a little bit of a reckoning for these guys because the defense is not as good as they're showing us. The personnel just cannot, kind of overcome some of the, or at least the scheme cannot overcome some of the deficiencies with the personnel, in my opinion. The run defense is perfectly fine, but the pass defense, I think, is going to get exposed by the Packers on Thursday.
Yeah, I don't think like the Lions, and it's not really their fault. They've lost like half of their defense. They've lost Aiden Hutchinson, who's the best player on the defense.
This matters. It has to matter at some point.
Yeah, they just don't have very good defensive personnel. I think that they have some really good defensive personnel, like Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph are awesome, but they are extremely thin now. It's funny because the way these teams are rated at the moment in market, like if you go off Impredictable, which is not perfect and doesn't always adjust for personnel, but like Impredictable is rating the Giants as 7.8 points better than your average team on neutral, and the Packers as 5.3 points better. Which if you take those ratings, then this line makes sense. But it kind of feels to me like both teams are set 2 points too high, and that they're both fairly imperfect, and that they're not materially. Well, the Lions aren't materially better than teams like Buffalo and Baltimore in particular. But yeah, it is. What do you make of the Packers at the moment? Because they've been so wildly up and down. I mean, the last time they played the Lions, they were just completely run off their home track.
Yeah, they can win the NFC. Period. As a wild card.
Yeah,
will not be surprised.
Yeah, well, they certainly.
Their ceiling is way up there.
Yeah, and Jordan Love is the type of high variance quarterback that you'd want for a run of 3 road games.
And they're leaning into that.
Yeah, it's run the ball with Josh Jacobs and then throw it 40 yards deep to Jaden Reed running deep crossing routes out of the slot. It's pretty cool. But the defense gives me concerns, but
their defense
is generating enough turnovers.
Their defense is not good. Yeah. But yes, you're very right. They're living on the turnover. I will say this: I think if there's a bet on team in December, it's the Packers. And I think if there's, I'm not trying to relive last year, but I do feel like this is a team that is built to hurt people right now, and they're healthy. So, trouble.
Yep, no, they certainly have upside. All right, it's an AFC West showdown between Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City this Sunday night. Coverage of the matchup with major playoff implications begins at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC and Peacock.
As you all know by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. If you haven't signed up to BetMGM yet, use bonus code BETEDGE, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code BETEDGE. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code BETEDGE when you sign up. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code BETEDGE and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.
Okay, let's close out with Browns Broncos Monday Night Football. The Browns are 6-point underdogs on the road. The total is 42 flat. Do you have a bet on this game, Drew?
Yes, I bet the Browns. Market is against me. It has come out from 5.5 to 6, as someone apparently believes that Bo Nix is going to have no issues with this Cleveland Browns pass rush. I disagree. I think the Browns defense can be a distinguishing factor in this game. And I think in general, the Jameis Winston, Nick Chubb show is enough to give the Broncos defense a little bit of trouble. Broncos have largely been getting it done with just an absolutely pudding soft schedule. And the Browns are not rolling over to the degree that many of their recent opponents have. So I think this is going to be a competitive game, and I'm happy to have 6 points in pocket with Cleveland.
Okay. Do you think that Bo Nix has largely just been a product of lighting up bad defenses the past month, and that a rude awakening is coming for him? Or do you think that that he has materially improved to the point where he is an above average quarterback now? Or do you think that it kind of just doesn't matter because the Browns defense isn't very good?
Oh, no. Browns defense can do this. They can give them a rude awakening. And I think the important thing to remember about all young quarterbacks, whether, even if you watch every minute of tape on every, on the rookies, you've seen every snap that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young have taken. You can still be fooled by young quarterbacks who go through an arc of learning how to play the position. And Bo Nix has not had to go up against a defense like this. The Jim Schwartz finding unique ways to bring pressure I'm excited to see it. I think it will happen, and I think it will unwind Bo Nix to a degree. And this is not to say that Bo Nix has not impressed me this year. His growth is obvious. His athleticism is difference making. And in general, the Sean Payton Bo Nix experience has gone well beyond what I expected this year, and probably gets them to a playoff spot. But I think the Browns are going to be a little bit of a tougher test, and ultimately, if they win, I think it's going to be a field goal type of game, not a touchdown game.
Yeah, interested to see how this Denver team performs. I think the Browns are somewhat of a known quantity now. It's a slightly below average team that has the weird Jameis variance. But the Broncos, I mean, their rating has fluctuated from being like a -5 type of team at one point earlier in the season to now being a +1 to +2 type of team. And that is largely off of the defense being top 3 in the league, which I think is fairly accepted that this is an elite unit. But the offense, it still just doesn't really make sense to me how they're this good. Maybe Bo Nix is just really good, but I still can't shake watching him on Thursday Night Football against the Saints, where he is backpedaling in the pocket when there's no pressure coming whatsoever. And he has gotten better since then. And I think it's a positive indicator in a way, and it's not always sound to draw these type of parallels or these lines between things, but just watching how much Herbert struggled against the Falcons and then watching how much Nix completely eviscerated them. And I understand it's, the Falcons were on the road against Denver and they're coming off the bye against Herbert and all that, but maybe Nix has found a level, and Cortland Sutton, I think, has taken a big leap as well, but I'm still waiting for the Knicks stinker to happen, the 3-pick game where it all falls apart. And perhaps that is on Monday night against Myles Garrett and friends. Yeah. All right. Well, we are done for tonight. Don't forget to check out NBCSports.com for more information to help you with your wagers. Thanks to those watching on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. If you're listening in podcast form, don't forget to rate and subscribe. And also a reminder to find all your favorite NBC Sports shows on Amazon Music. Just head to amazon.com/NBC Sports. From myself and Drew, we'll see you soon.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.